My name is Eric Shabazz, and you're listening to the Invisible Hand Podcast. The world's ran by human nature, self-interest, and power. Let's get into it. Eric Shabazz, Invisible Hand Podcast. And today we're going to talk about the age of the fake billionaire. And so what I'm going to discuss in this video is how you're seeing more and more artists, influencers, and just everyday entertainers become billionaires. And you're seeing the media put them in front of you as if they're some type of great business people or tech titans. And I want to tell you in this video that there is a underlying implication that's bad for you as an everyday American, that you're not realizing why these people are able to become billionaires, as before they've been in their industries for 5, 10, 20 years and they've never been billionaires. And now all of a sudden they're becoming billionaires in the last 10 years. And so that's what I want to discuss today in the age of the fake billionaire. So let's just go ahead and take a look at this right here. This is Kylie Jenner. She is basically considered a billionaire, even though her net worth went down to around 900 million. But at one point she was worth $1 billion according to Forbes, right? And Jenner today, 23, was the youngest billionaire in 2020. And she did not make the last year list. She was controversially named the youngest self-made billionaire in 2019 following the success of Jenner's brand cosmetics. Now, there are several other fake billionaires I'm going to discuss in here. Now, I want to say right off the top that I don't have anything personal against them. I'm not saying that these are not smart women who are going to eventually grow into these positions and learn the industry. But I see a lot of young people today on social media, TikTok, you've seen rap artists, everybody saying, I want to be a billionaire, right? And they're saying it as if it's something to brag about. And I want to say that most billionaires post 10 to 15 years before this were basically industry titans. They were industrialists. They were people who basically learned the industry for 10, 20 years. They're very sophisticated people who learned how to manage resources, people, and capital in order to build firms that eventually make them billionaires. And now you have athletes, influencers, and musicians becoming billionaires very easily today, all of a sudden in the last 10 years. Why is this happening? Are these people all of a sudden become great business people? And so this is what I mean by fake billionaire. It doesn't mean that they're not worth $1 billion. It just means that what a billionaire typically was in the past is not what it is today. I'll give you an example. Let's take Kylie Jenner. She is the face of a makeup line called Kylie Jenner Cosmetics, right? Now, how many of y'all believe today at the age of 23 that if she went and be the CEO of L'Oreal, one of the largest makeup cosmetics companies in the world, that she'll actually be able to run the company? Because typically when they put cosmetic billionaires in front of you, people who founded companies, these people worked in these industries from the ground up to get there. They have the skills, the knowledge, the sophistication to run those businesses, to run those supply chains. So I'm asking you right now, since she's a self-made billionaire in the cosmetic makeup industry, if they took Kylie Jenner right now and made her CFO or CEO of L'Oreal, would she be able to run it? Right? L'Oreal got thousands of employees. They manage hundreds of chemical plants, right? Would she be able to handle the customer relationships? Would she be able to handle the marketing? Would she understand how to set up the organization, the AR, and how it's set up? Would she be able to manage the supply chain team and understand all the different components that make their business competitive? Would she be able to go to the manufacturing plant and understand how to set up the equipment, or at least understand most of the equipment and how it makes you competitive, right? And hire plant managers and understand how to make that run smoothly? Will she understand the purchasing process? Will she be able to still oversee the sales team and how the product is sold? Will she be able to understand the finance and accounting, right? When you're a billionaire and you're running an enterprise, you're multiple things. You're basically a sophisticated business person, a sophisticated investor. That's what you are when you're a billionaire traditionally, before this new age of fake billionaires, right? Paper billionaires. A lot of these billionaires, like Kylie Jenner, I'm using her as an example. I'm going to show you another example, which is going to be Rihanna. Even though, don't get me wrong, Rihanna has a legit music career, and she has probably made hundreds of millions of dollars from music, and she does know that business. But most of these so-called fake billionaires, is what I call them, and the way the news try to present them into the media as if all of a sudden now Kylie Jenner is this great businesswoman that should be revered. All of a sudden Rihanna is this great businesswoman who should be revered, as if she's been practicing business for the last 25 years. We both know that that's most likely not true. Same thing with Rihanna. Her $1.4 billion come primarily from the success of her cosmetic line, Fenty Beauty. According to Forbes, she also has a 30% stake in Savage X Fenty lingerie line, which raised money at $1 billion valuation in February 2021. Same thing with her. If you look at Rihanna right here, she's been in the music business for like 20 years. Most of this money comes from everything but what they mainly do. Kylie Jenner is a reality TV personality and social media influencer. Most of her wealth has nothing to do with what they mainly do in their careers. Both Kylie Jenner and Rihanna, both of their wealths have nothing to do with what they actually do in real life, like their actual careers. And this is a theme you're going to be able to see to identify what I call fake billionaires. Not because they don't have the money. It's because the media is trying to present them as great business people because they have the money. Another example of a fake billionaire is Floyd Mayweather Jr. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he's fake as in he don't have the money. He does have the money. And I'm not saying he doesn't know anything about business, but I'm saying that the media wants to grab him and put Mayweather up against, people, other business billionaires who actually understand sophistication of business in the world. They'll grab a guy like Floyd Mayweather, or they'll grab a guy like Conor McGregor, who just sold liquor for $600 million. In a few years, he's going to be a billionaire, right? This dude is basically a UFC fighter who's a personality. And now when he gets into billionaire status, the world is going to be putting him in front of you and saying, this is a great captain of industry. What is a real captain of industry? Think about this. Captains of industry, people who help run, create, and innovate new industries that we all use on an everyday basis, are very sophisticated men who work their way up to $1 billion. So I give you an example. If you go into the cosmetic business and you start out as a industrialist who's interested in the business, right? You have to set up a manufacturing plant, build a sales team, hire people, go through the struggles of growing the organization, leading them, dealing with governments to get these plants set up, dealing with EPA because of chemicals. And then once the business starts to take off, you're CEO or working on the board. Now, when you got billions of dollars in your coffer, you have to understand finance now, because now you can't just let all this cash sit in your bank. Now you have to understand the stock market and how to invest cash, how to utilize cash, how to get returns on your money as it sit there. You start to learn a very, very thick slew of how the world works when you get to billionaire status, because now you have to deal with all of these moving parts of managing the organization, managing the enterprise, managing externalities, and managing the government, dealing with shareholders, dealing with marketing, right? So when you get to that billionaire status, you're a very sophisticated human being who understand how the world works. Well, Kylie Jenner, Rihanna, that they're presenting to you as great business women, didn't necessarily go through that. They can't necessarily, Rihanna, they can't take her to the top clothing line like Gucci or something and say, go be CEO of it, or even go be CFO, or even be a high executive position. She doesn't have the skills. And so a lot of their money is coming from partnership deals. And I'm going to explain to you why this is not necessarily a good sign, even though they're making more money than ever. I'll even give an example of somebody like LeBron James, right? He's a billionaire. But only difference is the NBA, he probably made at least $300 million to $400 million just from his contracts in the NBA. So the rest is just from investments and partnerships, right? Is he a great businessman? I'm not saying that he's not. I'm pretty sure he learns a lot about business, and I'm pretty sure when he retires, he's going to have more time to actually become a great businessman. But is he a great business mind that you should be saying he's a billionaire, Rihanna's a billionaire, Kylie Jenner's a billionaire? Should you be standing him up next to Elon next to Bezos, next to other people who are starting companies, managing employees, dealing with all the struggles, learning how the finance work, learning how to maintain money, learning how to compete for talent, learning how to build technology and innovate. Like the average business person, the average small business person that's a mid-sized business has more skills and knowledge about business than most of these people that they're presenting to you as billionaires, including Floyd Mayweather. He spent most of his time boxing. I'm not saying he's not doing investments, but they're presenting these people because they hit billionaire status as if they're titans of industry. And they're not. Most of these people, most of the investments that they have, they probably couldn't be CEO of those companies by themselves. They wouldn't be able to do it. If they took Rihanna and put her at a top end manufacturing plant of cosmetics, you think she could run it? You think if they put her as CEO of L'Oreal, same thing with Kylie Jenner, you think she could run it? Absolutely not. And so I see a lot of young kids on YouTube today saying, I want to be a billionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire. I see a lot of rappers saying that. And they're just talking about the number. That's not what you should be desiring. When you want to become a billionaire, what you're really saying is, I want to create value and I want to become a sophisticated person who understands how the world works. Because in order to become a billionaire the old way, that's what you are eventually going to have to do. You're going to have to learn so many skills throughout the process of accumulating that wealth that by the time you get to $1 billion, you won't even care about the money. You'll be in a whole nother stratosphere as far as the things you had to go through to become a billionaire. And don't get me wrong, I'm not just attacking artists like Kylie Jenner and Rihanna and LeBron. A lot of these tech guys are also overhyped too. Not all of them, but a lot of them. There's been a lot of overnight billionaire companies that do some little stupid trinket that go public, sell it for $300 million, and then the business go out of business in 2 years. You know how many bullshit startups popped up in social media in Austin, Texas that won't be around? I can name a few: Outbound Engine and all these stupid companies. They're saying, hey, we'll take over your social media page if you're a small business and manage it for you and send posts out. Most of those businesses are already gone or about to go out of business right now, and investors gave them hundreds of millions of dollars. Do you know how many wannabe bullshit copycat startups are in Austin right now that won't last? They were just trends, and because venture capitalists were just throwing money, because their new strategy of investing in the venture capital world has become invest in a whole bunch of stuff and get 1 or 2 winners. So they were just literally giving money out to any decent idea with a decent founder. Most of those businesses, these guys made 100 million, 200 million, and they're running around on doing interviews talking about how great businessmen they are. Most of them at some point didn't even run successful businesses. They sold their businesses before they actually had to prove that they could scale them and really get product market fit, which is find a customer base that's willing to pay consistently. And so they're running around, same thing like how they're misrepresenting Kylie Jenner and Rihanna as great business people. And even these athletes now, they're making so much money where they're misrepresenting what they actually are. Most of them couldn't run a high-end organization with 500 employees successfully or competitively compared to their peers. Yet they're great business people they're putting to television. Let me explain something to you. Even Kanye, don't get me wrong, he's a billionaire. I didn't put him on the list for a reason, but even Kanye, a lot of the crazy shit he does. The reality is, here's the real reason why these people are billionaires today. I'm gonna be honest with you, and it's because of the consolidation of wealth in the internet, and it's not good for everyday Americans, and I'm gonna explain to you why. Here's the deal. When the internet really took off in the last 10 years, what happened is it fundamentally shifted the landscape of all of marketing. If you wanted to be a small business in the everyday world, before I leave the house, I'm going to search on Google for what I'm looking for. That fundamentally changes marketing. That means that all those signs you put in the street are relevant, but way less relevant. That high price you pay for a good building in a good place where there's lots of traffic has shifted the game. Now, you don't need to necessarily do that, because if you're winning in SEO on Google and I search the best pizza in Houston, and it pulls up where I want to go, I just hit my GPS, it tells me how to get there and I go. So all of a sudden, all that real estate that you used to have to pay premium price for because it's near major streets could lose its value or get competed against where in places where it's not actually popular. So the internet changed everything. It allowed a large segment of marketing and other structures in business to remove the middleman, which means that most industries in the country have been able to go somewhere hybrid or almost close to direct consumer. Right? Now here's the point. That's why you're seeing more billionaires than ever, because they're actually having to hire less everyday Americans for jobs. So they're able to make deals with Kylie Jenner and say, you know what, Kylie, we'll give you $1 billion lifetime contract. You have 100 million people following you on Instagram. You could talk directly to our customers now, instead of them having to hire a whole bunch of people in the mall, employees in the mall, a big 500 a team, national marketing team. Those are everyday jobs that people take care of their families with. They're not necessary because now these businesses can go direct to consumer. That's why you see Kanye a billionaire. That's why you see Mayweather a billionaire. That's why you see Rihanna's a billionaire. All of a sudden, they can give these guys more money, but these guys are put in the media as scapegoats. Scapegoats for the industry titans behind these industries who are literally downsizing and consolidating the industry. Hey, I'd rather just pay Kylie Jenner $1 billion lifetime contract, and we don't have to build all these physical locations and hire all these employees and provide all these benefits when she could just talk directly to her fans on Instagram. So who they consolidating power? They're keeping more of the profit. Even though they're giving more to Rihanna, more to Kylie, more to LeBron, they're actually saving a lot of money and making more money than ever. And so when you hear all of these new billionaires, that 20 years ago, you didn't hear athletes easily becoming billionaires. You didn't see artists easily becoming billionaires. They're becoming it now because the internet has removed the entire middleman. They have removed the entire brick and mortar structure where they would normally have to hire hundreds of everyday working Americans who need jobs. They have removed that. They can give more money to the face person, the LeBron, the Kylie Jenner, the Mayweather, the Shaquille O'Neal. They can give more money to them because they have direct relationships through social media or a website with their customers. They can give them more money and keep more profit. And who loses? The consumer. How? Because you're not getting any jobs yet. You're still shelling out money to buy their products. So understand that we are in the age of a fake billionaire epidemic. Let me tell you some of the signs how to know somebody's kind of a fake billionaire. Number one, is the majority of their money created off of a product that had nothing to do with what they spent their entire career doing? Rihanna spent 20 years making music. All of a sudden, 40 to 50 to 70% of her wealth comes from something that had nothing to do with music. That means that somebody in the cosmetic industry made a strategic partnership deal with her because they realized that she has a whole bunch of women followers on social media, and that's a valuable marketing channel to their customers. So all she really is a paper billionaire from the perspective that that organization saw that that was a great opportunity for a strategic partnership, and she's their marketing channel. Same thing with Kylie Jenner, same thing with Shaquille O'Neal, same thing with LeBron James, same thing with Floyd Mayweather. All of these people are strategic marketing channels. Same thing with Conor McGregor. This dude was a UFC fighter who's just basically a joke. All of a sudden, he has an exit at Proper 12 Liquor worth $600 million. Did he spend the last 20 years building up this business? Does he understand the liquor business? Can he go run Jack Daniels, a BCO right now? No. He's a marketing opportunity. And so these are partnership deals. Typically, you'll see, if they're fake billionaires, is the way that their careers didn't make them the majority of their money. That's how you know that they didn't necessarily become a titan of industry. A good example of a titan of industry would like Andrew Carnegie, right? Or Carnegie Steel. He knows the steel industry from top to bottom. And that's what made him his money, including other stuff later, right? So my point is that I'm not here to pick on these people. I hope Kylie Jenner, she's only 23, she's going to grow into a great businesswoman. And that would be great. I want her to. Same thing with Rihanna. She's a little bit older, but I think that she's already a great person. She's accomplished a lot more than Kylie Jenner, obviously, as an artist. But she's going to grow into a great businesswoman, and I'm cheering for her. But I just want to let the people know that understand that these people didn't all of a sudden become great business people. And these people are not better than their predecessors all of a sudden. The industry, the structure of the internet and the relationship with the customer has changed and has allowed them to amass a lots of leverage with these organizations. But understand, at the cost of the consumer. It always comes at the cost of the everyday American. They're getting these big numbers because they're not hiring people at the same rate because of this. And so understand that these things are not all good when you're seeing a lot of these fake billionaires, or what I call paper billionaires, or what I call marketing arms of companies. That's all they are. And then you have media organizations grabbing women like Kylie Jenner and Rihanna and saying they're great business people, putting them up against Jeff Bezos and all these other great businessmen who actually built industries up from the ground up, who can run these companies, who understand the world way better. Because that's what it's really about. And I'm talking to kids today. If you're going to aspire to be a billionaire, aspire to be somebody who knows how the world works. Not the number, because that's not really the value of being a billionaire. Don't get me wrong, having the money and not having to work is great. But when you say I want to be a billionaire, what you want to say is, I want to be somebody who's extremely useful, who know how to navigate the world in a sophisticated way. Because that's what a real billionaire is. Somebody who can build up an entire industry, who can manage organization of people, who can push through new innovations and put products and services into the hands of Americans and help their lives, right? Who know how to deal with a large amounts of money and financing, who know how to manage that money and do not lose, and make sure that money doesn't lose value over time. That's what you're doing as a CEO. You think Rihanna know how to take, the $2 billion of profit their company might make and go talk to the CFO and make sure that it's not losing its value, putting some in banks and investments and diversifying it? These are the things these CEOs are dealing with when running these organizations. You think they know how to do these things when they're propping them up, calling them great businesswomen and the next, visionaries, when they're literally just partnership deals? A lot of these athletes are the same way. Not to take none away from them. And I'm not saying when they're retired, when they actually have the time to dedicate themselves to it, then they're not going to learn it. I'm just letting the public know that don't be fooled by a lot of this stuff. Look at Kanye, right? They're arguing that he's worth between $2 to $6 billion. In the internet age, how much do you think Michael Jackson would have been worth then? $10 billion compared to the actual quality of music that Michael Jackson made compared to Kanye, right? You think that all of a sudden Kanye is the better businessman than Michael Jackson? You think that Kanye has more influence than Michael Jackson? You think that Kanye produced a better product than Michael Jackson? Then why is he worth $6 billion? Is he just that much more innovative than Michael Jackson? No. The world has changed. The internet landscape has changed the world. And what it's doing is rapid consolidation of wealth by high net worth individuals, businesses, and the powers that be. And they're using these athletes, these stars, as front people for you can't see what's going on. That's why they prop up LeBron, a billionaire athlete. Kylie Jenner, a billionaire cosmetic owner. Rihanna, a billionaire great businesswoman. No, she's not. No, she's not. They're just propping up the fact that by giving her money, they don't have to hire 500 people. They don't have to open brick and mortar stores in multiple cities. They don't have to pay for cosmetic girls in multiple malls. They just give her a larger share of the profit and make even more money for not hiring everyday Americans. So stop worshiping these fake billionaires, open up your eyes and see what's going on. And you need to get involved to figure out what we're going to do about this, because it's not in your best interest. This has been the Invisible Hand Podcast. Till next time, my friends. The future of legal betting is finally here. Place a bet using Bitcoin right over the phone. Unlike traditional gambling sites, every bet you make with us is guaranteed a 50% probability of winning. All of our bets are one-on-one against a real person and never the house. We offer some of the most unique bets in the industry. Bets like, will LeBron James win his 5th NBA title? Will Joe Biden be elected for a second term? Will Tesla be worth $1 trillion by the end of 2022? You can bet on if it'll rain tomorrow. You can literally bet on any future future event. Text the phrase "I bet" to the number in the description and I'll reply back with all of our available bets. Again, text the phrase "I bet" to the number in the description and I'll reply back with all of our available bets today.